The year was 2289, and humanity's place among the stars was still fragile. The colonies were scattered, isolated, and often preyed upon by stronger alien civilizations. One such empire, the Valori Dominion, stood as the most feared. They were elegant, intelligent, and utterly ruthless. Their queen, Zirithus, ruled with both cruelty and charisma. Entire species had bent the knee after witnessing her shimmering figure. Her golden crown woven into the very flesh of her skull, and her piercing violet eyes that could make even generals falter. Humanity, compared to them, was little more than a stubborn upstart species. But that stubbornness had given them survival. And among their ranks rose a man whose name would echo across both human and alien history. Commander Elias Rain. Elias was no ordinary officer. Born in the mining colonies of Titan, he had grown up breathing recycled air and drinking bitter metallic water. His father had died in an ore collapse. His mother had raised him with stories of Earth, oceans, forests, skies that seemed endless. But Elias never saw Earth. His battlefield was space. On the day his legend began, his small fleet was ambushed near the asteroid belt of Proxima Secundus. Valori warships, sleek crescents of obsidian metal, glowing with shifting runes, descended on them like predators. Most of Elias's ships were destroyed in minutes. Only his cruiser, the valiant Horizon, remained, drifting half-crippled and surrounded. The Valori did not finish them with plasma fire. Instead, a message came across all channels. "Commander of the humans," a voice like velvet thunder spoke. "Surrender. The Queen herself desires your presence. Your resistance intrigues her." Elias stood on the bridge, helmet under his arm, bruised but unyielding. His officers looked at him with fear and hope tangled together. He could refuse and die a hero in seconds, or accept and step into the lair of the galaxy's most dangerous monarch. He chose the latter. Middle. The Valori flagship, the Eternal Crown, was less a ship and more a floating cathedral of alien design. Its spires curved inward like claws, its hulls glowing with strange bioluminescent veins. When Elias was escorted inside by tall, silent guards, he felt as if he had entered the belly of a living god. They brought him to a throne chamber, vast and echoing. At the far end sat Queen Zirithus herself. She was taller than any human, her slender body draped in flowing silks that shimmered like liquid starlight. Her crown was fused into her bone, her skin pale as marble, and her eyes burned with an inner radiance. Around her, alien nobles whispered in their tongue, regarding the lone human as one might regard a curious insect. The Queen raised a hand, silencing all. Her gaze locked on Elias. "So this is the human who dares defy the Dominion," she said, her voice wrapping around the chamber like music and command fused together. "Remove your helmet. I would see your face before I decide whether to end your life, or claim it." The chamber went still. The guards shifted slightly, ready to enforce her order. The nobles leaned forward in anticipation. To bare one's head before the Queen was a symbol of submission, of vulnerability. No alien ever refused her. Elias, standing in his scarred exosuit, felt the weight of history pressing on his shoulders. Slowly, he reached up and unlatched the seals. With a hiss of depressurization, he lifted the helmet from his head. His short dark hair was matted with sweat and blood, his jaw set firm, his eyes sharp as steel. For the first time, the Queen's composure faltered. He was not like the broken, trembling captive she had paraded before. His gaze did not cower. His stance was weary but unbowed. He looked at her not as a god, but as an equal. Satisfied? Elias asked, his voice rough but steady. The nobles gasped at his audacity. The guards' hands twitched toward their weapons. But the queen, she smiled. Slow, dangerous, intrigued smile. Fascinating, she whispered. Instead of ordering his execution, she rose from her throne and descended the steps. Her silks trailed behind like rivers of light. She circled Elias, studying him as though he were both specimen and rival. You fear me, she said softly, and yet you defy me. Why? Because fear doesn't mean obedience, Elias replied. You may rule half the galaxy, but you don't rule me. That answer stunned not just the nobles but the queen herself. For centuries, no one had spoken to her in such a way. Her lips parted, not in anger, but in something dangerously close to admiration. Over the days that followed, Elias was kept aboard the Eternal Crown. But instead of a dungeon, he was placed in quarters more fitting for a guest. The queen summoned him often, not for interrogation, but for conversation. She questioned him about human resilience, about their short lifespans and long dreams, about why they fought so fiercely even when outmatched. And each time, Elias answered with the same honesty and stubbornness that had made him who he was. Slowly, something began to shift. The queen found herself drawn to him, not just his defiance but his humanity. His scars told stories. His eyes held oceans of loss and hope. He was fragile yet unbreakable. Paradox she could not ignore. The nobles noticed. They whispered in discontent. To them, the queen's fascination with a human was dangerous, shameful. Plots began to stir. One night, in a quiet chamber overlooking the stars, the queen confronted Elias again. Do you not realize, human, she murmured, that I could end you with a gesture? That your people's survival may rest on my whim? Elias met her gaze without flinching. Then why haven't you? The question struck her deeper than she expected. She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the faint glow beneath her skin, the rhythm of alien veins pulsing with strange light. Because, she whispered almost to herself, you make me question. Climax. The fragile balance shattered when the nobles staged their coup. A faction of Valori lords stormed the throne chamber, denouncing the queen for her weakness. They accused her of tainting their rule by favoring a human. Blades of searing plasma were drawn. The queen stood tall, but for the first time she was outnumbered. Betrayal dripped from every corner. The guards hesitated, unsure whom to follow. Elias, unarmed, stepped to her side. You don't have to fight this alone, he told her. The queen glanced at him, shocked. You would stand with me, even after all I've done to your kind. You're not my enemy right now. They are. The chamber erupted into battle. Elias fought with nothing but his fists and stolen blades, moving with brutal efficiency. The queen unleashed her raw power, waves of telekinetic force that hurled traitors against the walls, her silks whipping like banners of fire. Side by side, human and alien queen carved through the rebellion. When the last noble fell, silence reigned. Elias stood bleeding, his chest heaving, his eyes still locked on hers. The queen approached, her hands trembling, not from fear but from something else. She reached up, brushed his cheek with cold fingers and whispered, You've undone me, human. No conqueror, no rival, no ally has ever made me feel this, vulnerable. Her voice cracked on the last word. The nobles had seen her kill without hesitation, command fleets without blinking. But in that moment, Elias realized she was not invincible. She was lonely. He lifted a hand, gripping hers gently. Maybe vulnerability isn't weakness.